Welcome to Write with Love. I'm your host, Sarah Williams, best-selling author, speaker, and creative entrepreneur. Each week, I chat to passionate and inspiring authors about their journey in creative writing. Some are traditionally published, some do it themselves. Everyone's journey is different, and everyone has something interesting to say. We all love love and love what we do. Today's show is brought to you by our amazing fans and supporters on Patreon. If you'd like to help support the show and get some awesome bonus episodes, go to patreon.com/Sarah Williams Author to learn more. Now here's today's show. On the special Australia Day edition of the show, I'm chatting to Darry Fraser. Thanks for joining me, Darry.
Thanks, Sarah. Thanks for having me.
Not a problem at all. So I can't wait to start talking to you. Tell us all about yourself and your writing journey so far.
Well, it's been a bit of a long journey, but if I go right back, I think my love of books and wanting to write has come from having a mother who insisted on reading to her kids. I was first born and two others came after me, so we always had stories read to us either in the afternoon or at bedtime, and certainly after school and whatever. And I was one of those kids who used to want to find a story in those funny looking little digits that were on that page. So I'd be very careful to tear the pages apart to see where the magic was. It took me a long time to figure out it wasn't exactly where I thought it would be, but I think that's about the earliest I can remember having a great love of books, and I think that's what's morphed into my wanting to write. And so I did.
Excellent. So did you get straight into it out of school, or did you?
I had always, as soon as I learned how to write with a handwrite, I was off and away, and I told all sorts of funny little strange stories and wrote them down when I learned how to write. But one of my earliest memories of trying to put a story together was bashing away at Mum's old Remington typewriter. And I had no clue what I was doing because I had no clue what it was all about. But it made a wonderful noise, and, you know, the carriage went across and all the click-clacking and whatever, and I'd clearly created this wonderful story, and probably went off and had a sleep or something, I don't know. But I'd always told stories, always wanted to relate stories. So I think I've always wanted to entertain, and that was my medium, if you like. So that's I've always done it. And through school, I was always good at English, but of course, those sorts of things at school doesn't really set you up to construct a story the way that people are used to reading them. So it has been a long journey, and certainly a great journey learning and honing the craft of storytelling, which I love.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell us about your first novel and how it came about being published and all of that.
All right. Well, that one was Daughter of the Murray, and I was in Alice Springs at the time in 1982, and I was a very young person going out into the world for the first time, if you like. And I decided that, wow, I'd got to this really ripe old age, I'd better do something with my life other than, working in cafes and working in bars and things like that. And I decided against university, although I had a scholarship place in a teacher's college at the time. So I thought, well, I'd better write a novel. And I, as I said, was living in Alice Springs, but I had spent some time as a child on the Murray River. So I thought, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to write a story about a woman who heads up a team of paddle steamers on the Murray, and she's going to have a wonderful life, and there's going to be a bit of a romance in there, and there'll be action and adventure and all sorts of things. So I hand wrote this thing in a Collins notebook in pencil, and I still have that Collins notebook. And I was just about to transcribe it onto a typewriter, and of course in those days we had to have 2 carbon copies, and it was messy and horrible and a long process, and it was clearly quite daunting. But I thought, as soon as I get that done, I'm going to send it off to a publisher who will automatically pick it up as something absolutely fantastic, and away we go. So I was just about to buy myself a typewriter and about 3,000 reams of carbon copy paper, and All the Rivers Run came on the TV, and there I was, this young writer, ready to take over the world with this fantastic story, and it was already there, out there, done, and on the telly and everything. And it floored me. It wiped me out. I remember being so totally devastated because I knew I couldn't try to put it to a publisher now. I'd be seen as being a plagiarist or something or other. And I had no idea that All the Rivers Run was actually written in 1957. So quite a long time before it came to the telly.
Yeah, right.
So how far back? All the Rivers Run was a book written in 1957 by Nancy Cato, but unbeknownst to me, 30-odd years later, I've written this story. So it devastated me to learn that I couldn't actually put it anywhere. So I tucked it away, and I really wrote in the closet and undercover in the years preceding about 2015. And I had Can Imagine from 1982 to 2015, and I'd done what a lot of people have done, lived their life, and had some highs and lows in there and whatever not. And I thought, well, you know what, I need to do the thing that means more to me than anything in the world, and that was to write down my story and have it listened to. So I came back to the writing fold, if you like, rejoined Romance Writers of Australia in 2015, and pulled my big girl's socks up and pitched the novel to Sue Brockhoff at Harlequin Mirror, which is now part of HarperCollins, and Daughter of the Murray came out of that earlier book, and so that was such a thrill for me. I don't think I've come down off my high, to be honest. So in 2016, yes, it was so lovely. I don't think I've, believe it or not, as a writer, got words to describe how that phone call, when it arrived, how it made me feel. So in 2016, the book came out, and here I am, still raring to go and still writing and still being published. So I'm very, very grateful.
Yeah, no, and I've been watching it over the years, and I've listened to it on audio. I love my audio stories. And it's a spectacular book. So tell us about the characters and what we can expect when we read or listen to Daughter of the Murray and the storyline.
Okay, Daughter of the Murray. Georgina was born in England, although that's only fleetingly visited in the book. So we meet her when she's in her early 20s, and she's raring to go. She's with a foster family on the Murray River, and during that time in the 1890s, there were back-to-back droughts and back-to-back economic depressions, and things were not good in the whole country. Everybody was waiting for the magic wand of federation, which was still a few years off yet. And so people had high expectations of what was to come, even though they were suffering the drought and the economic depressions. So trade on the river was beginning to wane. The railway had gone through. So Georgina finds herself in a situation where her foster family can no longer afford her, for their fortunes have turned for the worse. So she has to work out whether she can be an independent young woman at the times, or without realising that that's also closely interlinked with her own survival. So she meets two very strong men on her journey, and so she meets two particularly strong men on the journey, one of whom she believes will be her way out of the impoverished state she finds herself in, and that life will be rosy. So on the one hand, she believes she'll have her independence, believe it or not, by way of being a married woman to a man of wealth, where in actual fact she finds that. So her journey is all about understanding the difference between survival and independence and what she does about it.
Yeah, right.
Then as she goes through, and the story has some highs and lows for her and some action and adventure, she gradually realises that what she needs to do is grow up a little bit and understand how life really works. And whilst we've all had highs and lows, I can certainly relate to this character, although I do have to say, a lot of people have asked me, it is not autobiographical. I am not 130 years old, and I haven't actually lived many of the things that Georgina has experienced. Okay. Georgina and Dane are quite well-known characters to me, and I absolutely love them. And I actually dedicated their book to them and apologising for taking so long to getting them out into the wild.
Oh, that's so sweet.
They're kind of good friends for me.
Yeah. Oh, they have. They've been with you for a long time then. Yeah. That's awesome. So you followed that up a year later with Where the Murray River Runs. Now, is that part of a series?
Well, my publishers are keen to keep Murray or Murray River in the title because the stories are linked very loosely by way of characters in there. So those people who may have read Daughter of the Murray will know that there is a connection with Where the Murray River Runs, and I do have to say that the books, whilst there is that connection, they are standalone books. They are in a Murray series, and the third one in the series should be out in 2019. So people who may have read Daughter of the Murray, picking up Where the Murray River Runs might meet or learn of a character they're familiar with. But they're by no means, you have to read one before the other, nothing like that. Where the Murray River Runs is about an aunt, Cece, and her niece, Linley, who run a clandestine women's refuge. And they start in Bendigo, and with action and adventure and crooks and all sorts of things, they end up in Echuca, which is where Linley's old flame from school catches up with her. So the premise of that story is the old flame from school had a, whoops, look out, I've spent some time with somebody I shouldn't have, and ooh, there's a baby. Oh my goodness. So with one thing and another, Linley has to decide, or she actually decides to foster that baby, and has to decide whether or not she can actually forgive her childhood sweetheart for the whoopsie, if you like.
For having a secret baby.
Yes, except not so secret.
No.
Secret to the hero.
Yeah.
So I had quite a lot of fun writing that one, and there was, in early days, there were eyebrows raised about the premise of the story and how would the young woman feel about raising a baby that belonged to somebody she had loved all her life that wasn't hers. So that was great fun, really great fun.
Yeah, and it's a great book. I loved that one. Yeah, very good. So, and of course, we're talking Ballarat, Echuca, Bendigo. These are all places in country Victoria.
That's right.
So you don't live in Victoria, though, now, do you? You're in South Australia.
Yes, I'm in South Australia on Kangaroo Island, which is just south of Adelaide. And although early days, as a child, I spent 5 years on the Murray. Absolutely. No, I don't live in Victoria now, but I know Victoria very, very well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I used to live in Victoria too, so we're all in good company. Excellent. So, Widow of Ballarat is your latest one. So that one came out in November. Which has an absolutely stunning cover, and I'm sorry we couldn't manage to put this on YouTube and show you all your covers, so I'll definitely link to it. But yeah, tell us about the Widow of Ballarat.
Well, the Widow of Ballarat was really interesting. As I've indicated, there's a third Murray series book coming out, and that was the one I was supposed to have written in 2018. Yes. So I'm laughing. I'm laughing because I had the idea for the third Murray series, and one morning, very early, like I'm going to say I was still asleep, I dreamed this whole chapter of the Widow of Ballarat, and I woke up straight away and I thought, oh my Lord, I just have to get up and write this down. So I went straight to the computer and I did just that. And it is what's become the second chapter in The Widow of Ballarat. And I had this very vivid picture of Tom Roberts' Bail Up, which is a lovely 1895 painting of a stagecoach and bushrangers. And it was so vivid, it just came to life in what is now the second chapter of The Widow of Ballarat. So I just couldn't write the third Murray series. I have done now. That's finished at the end of this year. But The Widow of Ballarat is actually set 40 years prior to the other two, again with a family connection, but there's no reason to read this one before any of the others or whatever. It's set right in the few hours immediately after the Eureka Stockade battle. And for your listeners that might not be aware of what that was, in 1854, on the goldfields in Ballarat, the government troops stormed a very small stockade on the diggings, on the gold diggings, and there was lots of murder and mayhem at the time. So it was a very interesting period of history in Australia, and a very interesting period of history for women in Australia as well. So that's been a journey of wonderful research, The Widow of Ballarat.
Yeah, fantastic. Is that one going to be a series, or you rounded it up nicely?
I'm not sure about that. I think the family, if you like, they might just have to wait in the wings a little while to see what pops up. I don't tend to want to move my stories too much into the early 20th century, but you never know.
Yeah. I have to wait for the next dream.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, that's fantastic. And so you're very busy with your books, and you've also recently joined up with Annie Seaton, who's been on the show, and of course I collaborated with her with the box set, which is currently for sale. And so you've got the Australian Rural Fiction website and Facebook group. Just tell us about what that's all happening and who's in it, and where we can find more information.
Well, certainly AustralianRuralFiction.com is our website, and we have upwards of 60, 70 Australian authors on there, all of whom write in what we call our rural fiction genre. So we're not set in the cities. We're out bush. Our rural genre in Australia is quite a massive genre here and very, very popular. So we thought that we could help garner more readers to our particular genres by having all the authors of those wonderful stories in the one place. And it's been an enormous success so far. And we're looking forward to more people coming on board as more stories come out.
Yeah.
So we love readers to join up on our Facebook page, and we certainly invite authors and readers to interact there. And we have little competitions and all sorts of wonderful things going on. So
yeah, absolutely. And I'm definitely on that page. So you can find me, you can find Darry, you can find Annie Seaton, Catherine Hines on there. I know Alyssa Callan, lots of our favourites. And probably a few more of them will come on the show hopefully this year. So that's all fantastic. Well, so what are you working on at the moment? Will it be the next in the Murray series, or have you already finished that one?
The Murray series, last book, as yet untitled, is finished, and it will follow one of the daughters of the O'Rourke family, and it will take us from Echuca, where the families have met up, if you like, right the way into South Australia, so up the Murray River to Mildura and across into Renmark. And there was quite an interesting government initiative in the 1890s in South Australia, whereby they needed to place people to get the economy kick-started, and they put them on the Murray River. The government decided to set up what they call villages, which was a settlement initiative where people would go there, and it was called communalistic. So not necessarily communistic, but certainly everybody was expected to go there, and everything they worked for would go into the community. So you can imagine what sort of a bun fight that ended up as.
Yeah.
But a lot of action and adventure in the book occurs there on the Murray River, on the paddle steamers, and a great chase backwards and forwards with the bad guys and whatever not. And I had an enormous amount of fun dealing with that. And actually, being on the paddle boats and sailing the Murray upstream back to Echuca. So that's due to come out in November again in 2000.
Thank you so much for being on the show today, and tell us where we can follow you online and keep up with all of these new releases.
Oh, certainly. You can find me, Darry Fraser, author, on Facebook, and even if you like my personal page, I sort of interact between the two, mostly for my writing work. So Darry Fraser, author, certainly, and my website is darryfraser.com, and you can join up my newsletter there, which goes out very intermittently, so I certainly won't fill up your inbox too much. But generally speaking, I get very, very excited about upcoming releases, and that's all you'll hear about for, however many days and weeks beforehand. And then I need to go and have a Bex and a good lie down to get over it.
Yeah, that's it, exactly. Well, thank you so much for being on the show today, Darry. That was great.
Oh, thank you, Sarah, and thanks for the patience with all this terrible connection business.
Not a worry.
It's been lovely.